Hey, what's up? Today I want to show you how to run a low-cost, high-confidence creative test for video ads and short-form content without blowing your ad budget on stuff that's just never going to work. I'll walk you through the exact setup I use, why each step matters, and how to leverage smart tools to crank out lots of testable creatives from a single long video. This is the kind of process that saves you hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, and lets you scale the winners with real data behind them. Okay, the whole point of a creative test is to figure out which creative actually moves the needle before you pour serious ad spend behind it. The common rookie mistake is dumping over $100 into each unique creative and just hoping one becomes a winner. With the right setup, you can generate meaningful signals from each creative for just a couple bucks a piece. Step 1 is all about making clips, lots and lots of clips from your source material. Instead of manually trimming every single hook, captioning, and thumbnail, I use an AI editor that finds the most viral moments for me. This editor turns them into ready-to-post clips and even auto-generates captions for you. For example, one tool will scan your long content, pull out potential viral segments, and export multiple vertical clips in minutes. That means from one 30-minute interview or webinar, you can get 10 to 20 unique creatives ready to test. Why this matters is all about generating diversity in your test set. The most reliable way to find a winner is to test a bunch of variants quickly by changing just one thing. You want to test different hooks, different on-screen text, different thumbnails, or maybe one with a talking head and another with a bold text overlay. You must keep everything else completely consistent and change only one variable at a time for a fair comparison. Step 2 covers the campaign type and the rationale behind the initial launch structure. For the test campaign itself, I strongly recommend using a traffic campaign on Meta if your goal is to get fast, cheap learnings. Traffic campaigns generally give you the lowest cost per click, making them great for testing a high volume of creatives at scale. If your real goal is high-intent leads like bookings or consultations, that engagement or lead campaign is your second step, but traffic is fastest for pure validation. If you're doing an organic test by posting to your feed or reels, schedule a handful of clips spaced out to gather initial engagement signals. Content calendar features are huge here because you can set posting frequency, let the AI cue post says, and manage everything from one central dashboard. Step 3 is keeping the structure simple: campaign level, ad set level controlling audience, and the ad level holding the creative. At the ad set level, choose manual placements and only select the platform you actually want to test on, such as Instagram Reels only. This is important so your results are not diluted across different surfaces that have different user behaviors. For the audience, keep it broad for the initial creative-only test, unless you already know your exact proven niche. If you know your niche, lock that audience in to get more accurate results. But broad targeting is often better for early creative testing. I usually put a relatively high daily budget on the ad set, like $50 a day, only because I want the tests to finish quickly. But this is crucial. I will kill each individual creative after it hits a small impression threshold, so each one only spends a few dollars. Step 4 is creative setup, focusing on controlling variables across all the ads. The main trick is to keep as many things constant as possible except for the single variable you are testing right now. That might be the visual, the on-screen text, the thumbnail graphic, or even just the first 3 seconds of the hook. Keep the ad copy and the call to action the same across all variants, so you are truly comparing apples to apples. A pro tip is using the editor to export multiple versions with slight, systematic changes for easy ABC testing. Also think about testing still frames versus short, punchy vertical clips, but remember to keep all other elements identical for that specific comparison. Step 5 is where things get incredibly efficient by automating the kill rule inside Ads Manager. You create a custom rule that turns off an ad once it reaches a specific number of impressions, typically between 400 and 600. That impression range is usually enough to get meaningful data points like CTR and CPC while keeping spend low. Set the trigger as impressions and the action is turning off the ad, and ensure you enable notifications so you know which creative got cut. One small caveat is that the platform checks these rules periodically, so a creative might spend a little extra, but it is still worth the insight. Step 6 is interpretation, focusing on the key metrics that actually matter for creative decisions. The key columns I use to determine winners are cost per result, CPM, CPC, and the click-through rate. Cost per result is your primary deciding metric, and naturally, lower is always better. A winning creative typically has a low cost per result paired with a highish CTR, which shows the hook is grabbing attention. If your CPM is super high but cost per result is low, you need to dig deeper to understand the audience dynamics. Step 7 is easy. Duplicate the proven ad setup for the rest of your variants and keep your naming convention consistent for later analysis. I once ran a test with 14 creatives pulled from one long webinar using an auto editor for hooks and still frame variants. The total spend across all 14 creatives ended up being only about $43 because the kill rule stopped most of them after just a few dollars each. A handful of those creatives clearly outperformed the rest with much lower cost per results, so those are the ones I took forward to scale. If you are doing this without a fast editor, you are completely limited by slow, error-prone, and expensive manual editing time. The right editor solves 3 big bottlenecks: auto-editing viral clips, auto-scheduling your content, and providing one central content calendar. If you are testing dozens of creatives every week, that extra time and friction becomes a real, tangible cost to your business. The right software reduces both time and friction, so you can simply run more tests at a significantly lower overall cost. After your kill rule does its job and you have filtered by the key performance indicators, pick the top 2 to 4 winners to start scaling with bigger budgets. You can also take those winners and let the AI editor repurpose them into slightly different variants for a second round of testing. So that is the entire loop. Generate many clips quickly, run a targeted traffic test with a kill rule, compare the right metrics, then scale the proven winners. This proven approach keeps your upfront spend tiny, gives you statistically meaningful data, and lets you invest real dollars only where they are proven to work. If you want a template for my exact naming conventions, rule thresholds, or sample content calendar layout, DM me, Yan on Instagram. If you are serious about turning long-form content into short-form clips, using an AI editor that handles smart selection and scheduling will change how many creatives you can test weekly. All right, that is it from me. Go make some clips, run the test, and let the data tell you which creative truly deserves the big budget.